to episode 23 of our podcast. I'm Alex, one half of the Sober Experiment.
And I'm Lisa, the other half.
Do you remember when we could never even say that?
You know what? It's so weird because I was literally just going to say, for season 2,
yeah,
maybe we should pre-record this like every other podcast in the land.
And not actually give it an episode number so we don't have to always do it.
Yeah, I've been listening to other podcasts and they have like a beginning bit that is really professionally done and it's the same every time, yet we go on and do that every single time.
Before we have our guest on today, right?
Yeah.
We had a little conversation this morning, weren't we, about blackouts?
Yeah.
Can we talk about blackouts a little bit today?
Yeah, go for it. Do you want to start?
Well, I can do, yeah, because I'm the blackout queen.
Well, yeah, you thought of it. That's what
I was just thinking, we've been doing our sober sessions, and if you're not aware of what the sober sessions are, you definitely need to be. So on Facebook, we've got a group. If you just search sober sessions, we've collaborated with Love Sober, William Porter, Simon Chappell, and our guest today, Sober Dave, to panel talks to everybody, and it's growing the group. It's really good, and we live stream into it and we have these panel chats. So last week we were talking a little bit about blackouts with our two guests.
Yeah,
it occurred to Lisa that newly sober people don't always know what a blackout is, and I know I didn't and Lisa didn't, and we thought it meant that you were unconscious. Actually, it means that you've forgotten something completely, and it's literally because the memories are never made. So you're perfectly functional. You're not perfectly functioning. You're functioning a bit like, whoa, what's down? You appear to be conscious and with it, but you're not actually knowing or remembering any of what you've done. So an example for me was I've talked about this on a podcast before, so I'll keep mine brief, but I know Lisa's got a good example as well. And with mine, are you thinking now, what's my example?
No. Got you, actually.
With mine, it was a case of I left a works due at lunchtime with two of the girls. We all separated in Manchester. We came back on the tram. And then I've got no recollection of how I got home, where I went. I've got one vague memory of walking up some stairs, and I believe that was in the Wetherspoons in Manchester. I must have gone to the toilet. But yeah, I lost 6 hours of my life, and I really, really do not know what happened to me, where I was, who I was with, who I met, what I said, what I did, none. And so when people say I've forgotten, it's genuine. It's a real scientifically proven thing that on our last sober sessions, William Porter explained why. So have a look at that if you haven't done it. It's on our YouTube channel. And it's real. It's a real thing. A blackout. Go on, Lisa, give your example before Dave comes on.
It's just so frightening, isn't it? I think, like you said, we didn't know really what it meant. So when I was reading all the Quit Lit books and listening to sober podcasts, and people were just saying blackout, I was always thinking, I wasn't that bad. Like, I weren't ever unconscious anywhere. So I never saw it as a problem. And the longer I've been sober, like it's 21 months now that I've not had a drink for, and the more and more I'm starting to remember. I don't know whether I'm allowing myself to remember that or I'm just being more open about it. So there's a couple. One of them is what I was talking to you about before, is the time that my husband had bought me a coat. And he was right chuffed that he'd bought me this coat. Anyway, on this day, it was a Sunday, and I'd gone out for a couple of drinks, which always led to more. So he would always want to go home, but I was like, I'm staying out even longer. So I stayed out, right? And when I got back, or when I woke up in the morning, there was no sign of this new coat, right? And I couldn't find it anywhere. And I didn't dare tell him that I'd lost this coat, but I knew we were going somewhere on like the Wednesday, and I knew I needed this coat for the Wednesday. I think it was like around bonfire time. So I knew that I needed to have this coat. So I actually ordered myself a new coat to come on next day delivery, and it cost me a fortune, right? Like an absolute fortune to get the exact same coat. And I went through this nightmare that the delivery came, but I missed the delivery, and then I couldn't go and pick it up from the post office until the day after, which would have been too late. But luckily, it's all who you know. I knew a postman. So he managed to get me this coat, right? Because I'd put it on my Facebook, and my husband was never on Facebook, so I could always say what I wanted on there. So I'd
Bit
put
like on here then.
Well, yeah, it's a bit, yeah, exactly. So I managed to get this coat back. Anyway, a few months later, I goes back to the place, or a place where I'd been on that Sunday night, went out again, and then went into the kebab shop.
As you do.
As you do. And the guy said to me, "Oh my God, Lisa," yes, I was on first term names, I'm very ashamed to say, but he was like, "Oh my God, Lisa, oh, I have not seen you for ages. I've got your coat here." And I was like, "Oh my God, no, I've looked for this coat everywhere." Anyway, he had taken me home, so I thought I'd got a taxi that night, and I hadn't. The pizza man was delivering pizzas, and I jumped in, and he took me on his travels, delivering pizzas, and give me a lift home, and I have no recollection.
Do you still not remember it?
No, I still genuinely do. And yeah, and now that is like, the more I think about it, that's one of many, many stories that we can tell in all the other episodes of this podcast. But
it's scary though, isn't it? Because I mean, luckily you knew him and you trusted him. Well, clearly you did, you got in his car, but it could quite easily have gone another way, couldn't it? And that's what scares me about mine.
Well, to be honest, Alex, I have had one that has gone another way, and we'll talk about that another time. I don't know whether I'm brave enough to say it just yet, and I know that we've got our guest coming on in a few minutes, but I have had a pretty frightening one that I've never actually confessed to anybody. But hey, what the hell?
Do I not even know this one then?
Yeah, you probably will do.
Oh,
right, you just told me we're all right at the time.
I was probably drunk when you told me it, but I probably went, don't worry about it, I've done that.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, listen though, what I do want to know is, did you end up with 2 coats?
Well, actually, I had 2 coats for a while, right? But the zip broke on one of the coats.
Yeah.
This is the universe working for me. So I sent the coat back because the zip had broke, and just said, "Oh no, I'll have a refund," and they were happy to give me a refund on it.
Really?
So I was really, really lucky. And I just want you to know, I don't have that coat anymore. I actually gave it to a homeless charity, so somebody else has got that coat now.
And did Tom ever find out, or does he still not know?
I don't know.
So Tom, if you're listening to this podcast,
he'll never listen to this. He will never ever listen to it. He has no interest in what I have to say, which is why I spoke to Siobhan yesterday, not so secretly sober, and she was like, "Your relationship is like the biggest sober mystery."
It is though.
I know. She just gets snippets of information and nobody gets it. And I'm just going to say about this, look, if I knew what were going on, I would let you all know. But I'm mystified by it too.
The end of the chapter. You've had a little bit more today, everyone. So today we are going to be joined by, as I've already given away, Sober Dave. If you don't know who Sober Dave is, first of all, where the hell have you been? Second of all, I will tell you, so he's a motivational speaker. He does a lot of work with alcohol change. He's a genuinely lovely, lovely bloke. He really is. He's our favourite. He is, I shouldn't say that he's our favourite.
I know, you say that to everybody.
And he's an Instagram legend as well. And he's literally he's just the nicest. I can't even say anything better about him. He's just gorgeous, isn't he? I'll tell you what he is famous for, though, his pants. I'll let him tell you about them, though, don't you reckon?
Yeah, the Sober Dave pants.
He makes us smile every single day, me and Lee.
He actually really does. It's so lovely. You know, the best thing about what's happened in our podcast is when we've invited guests on, or even just through Instagram and social media and just the sober sphere in itself, the best thing is that we've genuinely become friends with so many of our guests. And it's just, you know, like, do you remember when we did William Porter? His podcast, and now he's like our mate, and we were so nervous of speaking to him, and now we're like, "Hey William, what are you up to?"
We don't even say that, "Hey William, what are you up to?" We actually use his real name.
Yeah, we do. Hi Sam.
Hi Sam, if you're listening, and if you're not, you blooming well should be. It's up and Dave. Right, here we go. Anyway, have a listen to this. Hi Dave.
Oh my God, where are You know, it's like Find Wally, but Find Dave. You're always in.
It's called Find Wally. It's Where's Wally?
I've had to come out because it was fucking terrible indoors. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, fine.
Are we okay to just leave this in and go straight in with our podcast, Dave? You happy?
Yeah, of course.
Let's go.
Told you we never do any editing, so it's nice that we can start. It's so charming.
We've just given you a great intro. I want you to know when you hear this back, I hope you like the introduction.
Oh, I hope so. It better be.
Seriously, though, where are you? Are you in your car?
I'm in my car, the roof of the Sainsbury's at Wandsworth. So just have a little bit of peace. I can do my best.
Oh, I do love you.
How have you both been?
Yeah, good, I think. I feel a bit like kind of relaxed today, me. I feel a bit too relaxed. I've only just got dressed, if I'm honest. What about you, Lise?
Yeah, I'm all right. I had a bit of a rubbish day yesterday. The first one, if I'm honest, since lockdown, which isn't bad, is it? In like, what, we're going into our 6th week now.
Yeah, I know.
I got a bit stressed with it all and I didn't know what were going on and I was questioning things and it all messed with my mind a little bit yesterday. So I changed my profile picture on Facebook to one of my favourite ones and my timeline picture to a rainbow, did a meditation, all is good.
Amazing. Now I've developed a really bad cough, which is worrying for this podcast, isn't it? Literally.
Oh, that's a bit weird. Is it weird that I kind of stepped away from the screen?
Yeah.
Let's get our mask. Do you know what, though? In seriousness, we both had a cough. I had a cough very early on in it, didn't I, Lisa? And
yeah, you was really
around
poorly.
Christmas time or just after Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you think you've got it?
I think I've had it, you know.
Yeah.
My cough's still here, and it's been over 2 months, or around about 2 months. It's mild now, and it's just in the mornings it's worse, and at night I can kind of get through most of the day without coughing now, but it's still not fully gone, and it's honestly, it's about 2 months.
Who's that woman at Coronation Street used to smoke 100 fags a day? Was it Vera?
Oh, Vera. Vera Duckworth.
Is it Dot out of EastEnders?
I met Dot once, right?
Did you?
Yeah, and do you know what I said to her? And it was ridiculous. I went, "Oh, Nick." And she just looked at me like, what the hell? Do you think you're Kenneth Williams or something? Oh, no, friend.
Do you know, we've got a Dot Cotton story as well, right? We once went out into Knutsford.
Oh, no, can we not? I am.
It's so funny.
You know, when somebody tells a funny story, but it's not funny, this is that story.
No, it is a little bit funny. But anyway, I'll cut it short so I don't now it won't be funny because she's really... But we went to Knutsford and we actually lost touch for a little while. We'd not been kind of together as best friends for a good few years, wasn't it, Lisa?
Yeah.
We were back in touch over FaceTime, weirdly, Skyping each other, and we decided to have this night out. So we booked a hotel, couldn't just go for a little night out together. We booked a hotel, we did the works, we gate crashed a wedding by accident, and then we ended up in this bar. And it's a really posh bar, and we're not posh at all. Well, a little bit posh. and I knocked into this woman by accident. It was busy, and spilt her drink on her. And I just went, "Oh, I'm really sorry." You know, as you do, "I'm really sorry. I'll get you another one." And she went, "Oh, never mind the drink. Who's going to pay for my dry cleaning?" So Lisa just went, "Who do you think you are, Cotton?" Anyway, that was it. It's probably funny.
So funny.
Right. Funny. We didn't pay for the dry cleaning, did we?
No, we didn't. Never.
I wouldn't pay for your comedy act either, but anyway.
Well, that's why we've brought you in, Dave. So you know what? Let's get to you.
All right.
Yes.
So come on, for people that listen to our podcast that may not be on Instagram and may not have heard about you just yet, let's talk about what was Dave like before he got sober and what brought you to getting sober.
Dave was a maniac. in all seriousness, I started drinking, I think my era, it's quite normal to drink when you were like 13, 14 years old. Mum and dad, I think, let me have a little tipple with dinner. And then through my teens, I was a bit of a lad, loads of girlfriends and that, and used to go to the pub. I mean, I even got my first tattoo when I was 14, and I was wearing my school uniform when I went in the tattoo shop. Really? And the bloke was called Barry Levain in Garrett Lane, Tooting, and he used to go there when he was drunk because he was better. And he used to drink lager and whiskey chasers, and he had a big cowboy hat on. He's a famous man, actually. If you Google Barry Levain, there's loads about him, and his studio's still there, but he died of liver cirrhosis, so there's a good sign. And then, I think it was quite a normal sort of, I was, quite sporty. I used to play a lot of football, and I, when you're younger and you go clubbing and that, but it was kind of normal back then. And then I bought my own flat, and there was a local pub, and I started to poke my nose in there a little bit, and I become a bit of a regular. And that's really when I upped the ante in my drinking. I was drinking 5 or 6 beers. If I was one time I did session from midday until it was kicking out on a Sunday. That's where I really upped my drinking. But then I started to drink indoors because that was never enough. And that's when I started to go downhill. And then I moved from there, bought my own cottage, and then I didn't go to the pub, and then I just drank indoors. So my drinking went from social drinking to isolated drinking. Yeah. And at its worst, I was drinking a litre of vodka a day, Stella Artois starters, and hitting my head on the stairs on the way up was dessert because I was so drunk. And then I used to work on 60-minute makeovers as a handyman, and part of that show was the reason why we did it is because you could always go out and get drunk with all your mates. That's part of because you never used to get a lot of money doing it. Mm-hmm. And one day we went to Wandsworth, did a house there, and I now live in that house. As you know, Em, my wife, we were doing a house on the show, and when I met her, she'd just got cancer, and she gave me the opportunity of walking away, and I didn't. And one of our first dates, well, it was our first date actually, was in the chemo ward. Oh. So we got to know each other in a really unusual way. It wasn't wine and dining and stuff like that. It was her with a cold cap on and me with my bag of Maltesers, And when she got better, and then I sold my house pretty quickly. It's one of those whirlwind relationships. And leading up to me moving in, I kind of thought I needed to nip this drinking in the bud because I knew that I couldn't carry on the way I was. But I kept putting it off. I kept saying, I'll calm down by next weekend. But I sold my house in 6 weeks. I mean, you don't hear of that, do you? It's literally crazy. And I moved in, and within a couple of days, I was like, how am I going to suggest having a drink, Because 2 days for me was unheard of because I was drinking every day. Yeah. So I used to say to her, fancy a glass of wine tonight? She'd say, oh, no, I'm all right. And I was like, what? Have a glass of wine, Yeah. And I think it was probably after about 6 months, she realised that I really did have a problem. And there was a time that it was a Sunday afternoon, and she took the kids to the park, which is up the road. And I had a box of wine tucked behind the fridge in the kitchen. And I drank the whole box in an hour, like literally. So that's 4 bottles of wine. I was drinking it like pints of water because I was telling myself, when she gets back, I can't really drink like that. Yeah. So I was just shoving it down my neck. And I remember it was a belly of pork. And when she walked in, all the top of the pork had gone. I had the munchies, so it's like a pork scratch. I was literally ripping the top of the pork off. And it was like a dead rat laying on the plate. And she walked in, and one eye was looking at the clock and the other over at the door handle. I was literally all over the place. And she said, "What's happened?" She thought I'd been mugged or something. And she realised then what had happened, because my T-shirt was full of red wine, I think. And that's when, I mean, it really started to eat into our relationship, you know. And there was a point, I did have a rock bottom. I don't know how long we got on this, but I sort of made myself homeless for a few days and ended up, I don't know how I survived that. You know, I was drinking vodka on the beach. I slept rough for 3 nights, and I was on antidepressants as well. And previous to that, a week before, the doctor had doubled my dose as well. So I literally went berserk in my head. Came back, and there was a time Em came out to the garden, and she just burst out crying, and she said, "I can't do this anymore." And that hit home to me more than anything, you know, to see her face. She walked back into the house, and the kids were swinging all over the lampshades, and that she was just crying. And I thought, what have I done? What have I brought into this person's life? Do you know what I mean? Her life has already been hard enough. What have I done? And it kind of broke my heart, you know, that my selfish illness had inflicted her so much. And I just remembered after that, I just knew that I had to do something about it. And it was maybe a few days later, a friend texted me, and he just said to me, the important message about this, he didn't say to me, "I think you should give up drinking." He said, "How about we both give up alcohol for 3 months, see where we are in our life, in our marriage, and in our health, and see how we go." And that's why I always say to people who've got trouble with drink is never tell them to give up drinking, because it's got to be their decision, you know. And the way he put it to me was so eloquently put that it trickled in me throughout the day. And I went to see him that night, and that was on the 7th of Jan 2019. And I shook his hand and said, "Done." And that's when good old Sober Dave was born on Instagram.
Oh,
is that when the pants came out then at that point?
No, that was later on. I couldn't go in there guns blazing.
Just out of interest, Dave, did your friend then, did he genuinely feel that he was drinking too much as well? Or was it that he could see you drinking too much and wanted to help?
I think so. He's a very, very spiritual person. He will tell you something about you that you think, how the hell does he know that? Because he does. He's amazing. He had this message from God, basically, and he was to reach out to me. I need his help. And I will say, previous to this, my mum had died in the October, and I was with her for 4 days as she slipped away. And I had a dream a month later, and my mum came to see me. And it might sound strange, but it was so real. And she was about 40, and she looked beautiful. And she just held my hand, and she said to me, "Dave, I want you to know I'm okay. I really am." And that changed everything for me. And when he said this to me, I feel like I need to help. He didn't actually have a drinking problem at all. He had a sugar problem. He would eat flipping 4 pan of chocolate in one go in that. And that was his thing. So in between us both, he said he would give up sugar, and I said I'd give up alcohol. And after about 2 weeks of starting, I realised that probably that if I did the 3 months he said, within a week of that, I'd be back to where I was before anyway. You know, it was pointless. So then I thought, well, I've got to go for it. And once I decided to go for it, there was no turning back, really. It was like the best feeling I've ever had. I actually thought, do you know what? I can do this. I had no doubt about it, you know, and it was like an epiphany in my life that, you know, I do, without sounding too weird, I do feel like I'm reborn, because I've got a whole new life, you know.
I said this all the time, Dave. When I first stopped, I was very much like you. I just found it so liberating so quickly. And I know it sounds like really dramatic, and people that have not yet taken that step to stopping drinking, it really is like being reborn. You learn everything again, don't you? Like, I was learning to laugh again. I was learning to communicate again. I was learning to go to social occasions again, all them things. It really is like being reborn. Was there anything that you found dead challenging at the beginning?
Well, I'm a bit weird. You already know that.
No shit.
You're perfectly sane.
Yeah, I'm just licking my fingers. Hold on. Once I made up my mind, I decided that was it. So it was almost like a switch, like I'd said, right, I'm not going to drink again. And that's how I did it, because if I'd have had any form of doubt in myself, I could have easily relapsed.
Yeah.
And I haven't once. And that's really rare. I was looking at statistics the other day, and less than 5% of people do it first time. But that's me all over. I gave up smoking 15 years ago, and I've never had a fag since, But I think when the weather starts to get, where we live, Wandsworth Common, there's loads of little pubs scattered about everywhere, and I found that a challenge on a hot day. You got the old pink cloud when you have the first 3 months and you're losing a bit of weight and you're feeling great, and you're like, yeah, I've cracked it, and all of a sudden it come and bite you on the arse, and you're like, okay, is this the honeymoon period's over now? And I could murder sitting in a pub garden now with a pint of Peroni, just chilling out, and I struggled for a couple of hours with that. But what I've learned to do is build up my sober toolbox, that each time I have a challenge, I sit with that feeling. I don't just bat it away, because you've got to go through that feeling. And I deal with it, but I don't give it too much energy either, because otherwise it'd be, knocking at the door continuously until you open the door. So yeah, I had that, and I've been through quite a few different things. I haven't had a sober wedding yet though, because of my age. They're normally bloody sober funerals.
You'll have to get a wedding between somebody. Come, Lisa, you'd have to get married again at some point.
Oh no, I'm married. Third time luckier.
Yeah, but there's Emily from Sober and Social. She's in lockdown at the moment, and she's fancies a postman, so we could always go to that one. But no. To answer your question, I haven't really.
No, what you now offer recovery coaching, and I already know just through watching and being part of the sober sessions with you how amazing you are at that. At what point did you feel confident to start coaching others?
Well, I tried to be a counsellor 4 years ago. It was something I've always been passionate about doing, is helping people. But unfortunately, I couldn't finish that because my mum was become really ill, and I was on my level 3, and basically my tutor said to me, look, Dave, it's just, I was trying to do the homework and stuff. Then my mum died. But since then, I've done peer mentoring course qualified. I've done a mental health first aid course. And I just basically, I think life experience is a huge part of that. Because if you understand where someone is and where they want to be, and you've experienced that, that's more than like gold, isn't it? If you're aware of that. And I feel really, really passionate about, like you girls, you do as well. Do you remember I sent you a message last year and I said, you two are amazing? I didn't really know you, did I?
No.
And you sort of burst in onto the scene, and I thought, you two are going to absolutely smash it. And I've followed your journey ever since, and you are smashing it, and you're going to go on. And with our sober sessions as well, that's fabulous, And I just think that if we can offer someone support, and you can listen to them, and you understand what they're talking about, that's enough. You don't have to have a billion certificates up on the wall, and then you're just waving your pencil around and saying, right, this week you're going to do that. I think empathy is a great natural gift, and I just I just feel like it's something I want to do for the future to help people on this journey. You know, I think it's life-changing.
It really is. I mean, you've said to us that the majority of your audience or your kind of followers on Instagram are female, and we find the same. So when we get to speak to a man on our podcast or on the sober sessions, like we spoke to the Rock Sober Boys, it's quite a different experience than speaking with a woman, because I think that the women we speak to, they tend to have been similar drinkers to us, they're binge drinkers, they've suffered anxiety, and it's kind of the same thing. Now, men, we find, generally are less open to talking about their mental health. You haven't been. You've been very open about your mental health throughout your journey. Can you share it with us, please?
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that believes in being honest to be honest. How about that? But, I mean, I've shared everything in my journey. I mean, I even shared the fact that, is it embarrassing, but I've shared it on Instagram, that I was having implants at the front done, right? So they fitted me with a temporary plate that used to drive me up the wall, right? And one day I had a row with them, and so I went to the pub, absolutely plastered, and then I went to Sainsbury's on the way home, bought 2 bottles of wine and a whole packet of Yum Yums, 12 Yum Yums. And there's a famous chef that lives right near me, right? And there's a tree that overlooks his house. So I sat on against this tree. I drank 2 bottles of wine when I was already drunk, and a whole packet of Yum Yums. I don't know how I got home, woke up in the morning, and I thought, where are my teeth?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm running around. I've got to go to work, right? Find them. I'm lifting all the... So I did the walk of shame back to the common by his house, by the tree, and they're just sitting there at the bottom of the tree, right? And I thought, sorry. Do you know what? That's just a really, really typical thing of when I'm drunk, because I don't know what I'm doing half the time. So it's me with no front teeth walking to the flipping famous chef's house, looking for my teeth, thinking if a box has got them, I've had it. I'm not going to get them back. But anyway, that's how honest I am on Instagram. And, you know, and I did a whole thing.
Sorry, Dave. I just know how much Lisa is proper belly laughing. I can see her face. I can see your face. Wish people could actually see us at this point.
Well, I look like bloody Father Christmas in this. Look at that. But anyway, yeah, I decided to really get down to the nitty gritty of what it's like with no teeth. No. Anyway, that's oh, it's all going wrong.
Anyway. No, I love things like this. I don't know how you got from mental health to foxes walking off with
you. I mean, to be honest, right, if that's not enough to make you start drinking again, then nothing does. So, to forget lockdown, the fact I've survived my teeth gate is a whole new thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm just honest because I think it's important, and that's how people relate. When you talk about me holding like support sessions, I'm talking like this. I'm going to go bankrupt. No, I just believe because everyone. Do you know what? And this is absolutely serious. I had about 10 messages that day. Done similar things.
John, I can't even. What did you say?
Absolutely true. I got loads of messages relating to that story when I said about my teeth. So, oh my God,
like
yeah,
lots of random teeth all around London.
Yeah, one woman, the dog ran off with her teeth and she couldn't find them for 3 days.
She's gone.
True. I know. She's going, my teeth.
You know what though? It's true. These things happen and we don't realise, do we? I think we learn. That is so funny. I don't even know what I'm saying.
We
might have to edit this one.
No, we're not editing it. It's funny as hell. I thought I was bad when I came home in my friend's coat. And I think you look.
Your what?
That's not
Your friend's what?
I told you.
Coat. I just woke up in the morning and thought, that's not my coat. And like, it was someone.
That's not.
And that's nothing compared to losing your bloody teeth.
No,
Oh,
no.
dear.
We
It's
got
actually
to
really
try
funny.
and calm down a little bit.
Right,
Yeah,
you've made my day. You've made my day.
Right.
So
Right.
can we just go back to the mental health, the men's mental health at this point, to try and bring some sort of composure to us? So your journey, do you think that sobriety has kind of fixed any issues you had with mental health, or, you know, what's your view on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was on antidepressants, and then I think it was just before Christmas, I said to Em that, do you know what? I don't really want to be on any mind-altering drugs anymore. And I went to the doctors, and she basically said to me, we just come off them. And I thought, that's not right. You know, where I go to the doctors, you see a different doctor each time. And she said, oh, they're at such a low dose anyway, just come off them. And I did. And I was all right for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. And then I think with this lockdown and whatever, I started to get really anxious around things, and I've started to go back on them now, just temporary. I said to her, let's reassess it each month, because I'm self-employed and basically I haven't earned a penny in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I'm going to start to get money as well. So it's helping me for now. But what I say about my mental health is every single day, I felt really, really anxious. I knew my marriage was in trouble. I mean, put it this way, I don't think me and Em would be together now if I was still drinking. I think it would have just... And remember, she's got 4 kids as well. So I brought that into the house, and the little ones were saying, why is always Dave falling asleep on the sofa? Why is he always slurring and stuff, you know? And that's just not on, is it? So when I gave up drinking, 1, I felt a lot more positive. 2, I mean, there's that whole thing they say there's that what do you do without drinking? But there's so much in life you do without drinking. Yeah. Because when I was drinking, all I ever thought about was drinking. Like in the morning, I was thinking, I'm not drinking tonight, and then that gradually changed throughout the day. And then by 4, well, I might have a couple. I'll just take it easy. By 6, let's get pissed. Yeah. You know, and that happened every single day. And it was a cycle every day. And at the weekends was worse, because I'd start drinking Sunday at midday. You know, I used to say about the roast dinner, and I might have a little beer as I peel the potatoes and that, you know, just an excuse. Yeah. But my mental health has improved so much more now. And the main thing, though, is my health, because my blood pressure was so bad that the doctor said that I could have a heart attack, because it was like 185 over 115.
Wow.
Yeah, it was shocking. Yeah. And now I'm 120 over 85, which is normal.
So that's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm off all medication apart from the sertraline, you know, which is temporary anyway. So, you know, I'm not getting any younger. What? You know, I'm 56 this year. And I honestly, I don't think I would have lived till 60, to be honest, because of my health. In fact, you think the bloody teeth is a funny story, right? I belong to a gym, and I went on one of those machines that sort of tells you what your age is, your biological age, right? So I've done it all and whatever, and I've got the printed out ticket, like you get in Costas where the machine's doing the coffee and you print it off, and it said, you have the biological age of 85.
No.
My God.
85.
Wow.
Have you done it since?
No, I didn't go back.
You need to. You should. I bet there's been a massive jump.
I know, but what if there hasn't?
Well, it says 92.
Your blood pressure alone will have brought that age down.
Yeah.
Should be.
You know. Oh, sorry. I saw your Instagram post yesterday, and I commented on it, and you'd said like you're 50, 56 this year, and you're living your best life. And I just think that, like, I know you joke about being the granddaddy in the sober circle, and you're just not. I'd never even think that. Like, 56 is no age, and that's what I'd said on my post. That's the age where my stepdad died at 56, and I just, looking at you now, it kind of like, it's so amazing to see you living your best life, but it makes me really sad as well that it was just no age. Do you know what I mean? And it was through alcohol. It was, we had a pub, he drank every single day. It was his life. It was all he'd ever known. He was a proud barman, a proud cellarman. And I just can't even believe that he's the same age when he passed away.
Do you know what really touched me with that was when you told me that he used to hide away. Was it a Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he used to hide away. And I really felt him having to do that just to avoid being in the environment that he would be tempted to have a drink. And I could imagine the pain that he was going through. There's so many psychological demons going on there that, I need to do this. I need to keep myself away. And, I work really, really hard on myself. I know I joke and muck about on that, but I really work hard on my mental health and my positivity and how each day goes for me, because it's, that old thing about recovery and, you're always in recovery. And I do look at it slightly different. And I do look at it as more than recovery than it's discovery, because I want to move forward. I like to say that I was dependent on alcohol before and I'm not anymore. I don't want to have that label. I don't want to feel like I'm ill for the rest of my life. And I try every single day. I think you can tell by my Instagram that I try to keep things going. I try to be motivational. And that in itself really motivates me as well, and just be positive. Because if people start to doubt themselves and they say, well, do you know what? I do feel like I drink. Get that out of your head, because the more you're going to feel like that, the more you're going to end up having a drink, So I just believe that I wouldn't be this positive if I was still drinking. Trust me, I would be looking at the floor, scraping my knuckles on the floor, going, life shit, I hate my life. And now I just feel, as we said in the beginning, really reborn,
And I think you can see that. We put a post up the other day about being positive, because it just really resonated with me at the time. And it's staying positive doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. It means that even on the hard days, better ones are coming. And I think it's so, it just doesn't mean you're happy being positive. It means you're working at it. I remember somebody saying to me once really early on, like, oh, it's all right for you. It's dead easy for you because you're just dead positive all the time. And I was like, do you know how hard I work at trying to be happy every single day? And there is a difference. And I think your positivity comes across, and your Instagram, you help so many people. It's funny, it's honest, it's positive. I think that's why people relate to you so much.
More? Is there any more?
No, that'll do for now.
No,
can you get out of that car when you finish? With
his big head.
Do you know what though? And it's
your teeth won't fit you after this.
I'm
like bloody Zippy. You're too young for that. But no,
we remember Zippy. Rainbow. Of course we remember Zippy.
But it's funny, like I might do a post in that, and then Emma say, done such a positive post on Instagram, yet you're actually bloody miserable today.
Yeah.
And I say, well, because I'm allowed to be bloody miserable at some times.
Yeah.
That part of my life, the sober side of my life, sobriety, and that makes me feel really good. But there's other things that still go on in life, You might have a terrible day at work. It doesn't mean to say because you give up drinking, you're out with your balloons and your life goes on. It doesn't end there. And that's the same with mental health. That's the same with relationships. You've got to work at it. you know, and that's why I try to be genuine and authentic on my Instagram, to rather than an annoying bloke every day going, woohoo, I'm sober, get down, babe. You know, it's like, that's really annoying. And I really got annoyed with myself then by doing that.
You know, when we talk to people, though, and it's something that we've both learned, isn't it, Alex? As much as it is really important, and what I just said about working hard to be positive, it's just as important to learn and sit with them feelings. I think we grow up, and especially British people in particular, we think that we have got to be happy all the time. So when we're feeling sad, we try and push it away and cover it up and mask it, and we spend our lives doing this. So like you just said, that you said to him, you know, it's all right that I can be a miserable git today. And it is all right. Sometimes we have shit days. Sometimes we have good days, and that's kind of all right. And I remember early on in my sobriety, just sitting and actually thinking, right, oh my God, I'm just sitting with feelings. This is so weird to just, So it is just as important, I think.
I think the thing is as well that when you're sober, and again, I'm with you both on what you've said, but when you're sober, it's not necessarily that it cures all the bad feelings. It just means you can look them in the eye and deal with them instead of just drinking more to push them away. So it's painful to be sober sometimes, actually, isn't it?
It is. A lot. But do you know what? I honestly believe that that's why a lot of men struggle with it, because, like, so simple thing is, mate, you've got a bit of a drinking problem, and you, and they go, nah, I'll just have a few beers with a lad watching football. You know, that's the sort of default setting, rather than actually, it's affecting my relationship, my finances, you know. And I looked at my stats on my Instagram, 86% of women that follow me.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, you know. And I did a panel talk a few months ago with Scott, boy who drank too much.
Yeah.
And it was about male sobriety and the sort of ego behind it. And it was really fascinating, actually, because there was a fireman there who's a personal trainer, a male stripper. You know, there was 4 or 5 of us from different backgrounds, but it was really refreshing to hear from a man's perspective what sobriety means to them, you know, and it felt so different for me. So I suppose, like what you said with, when you do a podcast with a woman, there's definitely a difference in the conversation. And I really, really want to try and encourage more men to feel more open or talk more about their relationship with alcohol, because it's so important. And equally, I do get quite a lot of women messaging me, and it's about their partners, you know.
Yeah.
And I try and just say, look, that the last thing you can do really is tell them to stop drinking. It's approach them with kindness at the right time, and just be gentle and say, look, I want to understand how it is for you, and try it from that angle, rather than, you know, I'm sick of this, you've got to stop and whatever. So that's what I'm aiming for in the next few months anyway, to try and encourage more men to be more open about it, you know.
I think it definitely needs something like you. For my relationship with Tom, he ended up going through AA, and it was just awful, Dave, the beginning bit. And I think that's when people need somebody, and it's everybody that needs somebody. It's awful for the children, it's awful for the wives, and like you say, it's how do you approach it? You know, there's all these different. I remember trying to stop drinking to encourage him to stop drinking, because I was aware he was drinking too much. Then I went through a phase of that I was drinking too much to try and keep up with his drinking, because it pissed me off so much when he was drinking. I thought, well, you know what, I might as well do it as well. But then I resented him, and then every single weekend would come, and I would be working hard all week, and he would, or whatever. I'd finish work on a Saturday morning, and I'd get home, and we'd have friends round, the wine would be out, and it just became everything. And I think so many people are going through this, but they're afraid to talk about it. And I know what stopped Tom was the embarrassment of having to say, I'm an alcoholic or I have a problem. And we went through the functioning alcoholic. I used to leave things up on the internet and be like, read that, what do you think of that? You know, what is the best way to approach somebody? Is there anything that you could advise now on? Was there anything Em did that helped you at that point, or that you wish that she'd have done that could have helped you? Or do you think it's just down to you and you?
Yeah, I think it's what she didn't do that helped me. You know, the fact that I knew she loved me that much that she was putting up with it, which is no way to live, to put up with someone. But, I mean, it got to a stage, actually, that she would even email me in the night rather than text me, because if I got a text, I was a dog with a bone. So she used to email me, and I wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and look, and I go, oh, she's texted me. And then it would be a list of what I said the night before, which was, I couldn't believe it come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, my support groups that I'm holding now, it's equally important for the partner to feel that they can talk to someone that understands, because I really understand from the partner's perspective what it's like, because I was with someone who's an alcoholic as well. And all right, I was drinking a lot, but I saw from the other side as well what it's like. And it was horrible. It was so horrible to see them take their first drink and then drink really, really quickly. And it was like brandy as well. Yeah. And to see that person gradually change into the person I really didn't like, and put up with that every single day. And it's soul destroying. And you know, it's for anyone that's going through that, there is Al-Anon, isn't there? That's partners of it. It's so important for the partner. You know, it's not all about us. That on my Instagram, I try not to make it all about being sober. It's more of an open forum for people to reach out and go, do you know what? I'm not a big drinker myself, but my partner is, and I love him so much, and I don't know if I can live much longer like this. Yeah. How can I address that? And I always try and suggest that they try the softly approach. And it's hard because I don't know the couple, I don't know the dynamics of the relationship. But if it's the don't do this, knowing men, they will go, fuck you, I'm doing it even more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But if you get them at the right time and hold their hand and say, look, this is really, really upsetting. I really want to try and understand how this is for you and whatever. And then that you've got more of a chance then of getting the best out of that person. And I think with Em, because I saw her break, and I looked at her go in the house and she put her hands in her head. And it was just that point I thought, what am I doing? You know, and that was enough. I was never told. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And it's really similar, you know, what you described. My dad, I make no secret, he died of cirrhosis of the liver. And he was 10 years sober before he did. But my mum drank because it was a case of if you can't beat them, join them with my mum. And it had gone that far. And so, I make no secret, I am a child of alcoholics. And like you were just saying about the partner, and we're not going to get children listening to this podcast, but it's equally as important to realise that, you know, the whole family, isn't it? Your friends, everything. And there's so many amazing charities out there, like you've just said, Al-Anon, and then you've got NACOA for children. Yeah. We do a lot of work with them. You do a lot of work with Alcohol Change, which I do want to ask you about in a minute. But it isn't just the drinker that is impacted, it's everybody else. And I remember pleading with my dad. I remember, Dad, please stop drinking, please, please, please. And he'd just go, I'm an alcoholic, I can't help it. And that was his answer. He'd accepted he was an alcoholic, but he didn't want to change it until his health went to the point of if he didn't change it, he was going to die. And but he loved us. He absolutely loved us. He loved my mum. But you've got to want to do it for yourself. You can't force anybody. My mum stayed with him, you know, or unlucky, depending how you look at how my childhood was. But they worked things out and they had a lovely 10 years. But it's not always a success story for people, is it?
No, it isn't.
It's especially now, I think it's quite important that we do actually talk about this, because, you know, we're in lockdown at the moment. There's going to be people in relationships where the husbands or wives are drinking to excess, and we know that the abuse has gone up, hasn't it? Or already through alcohol. I could honestly think of nothing worse than if this lockdown had have happened 2 to 3 years ago when me and my husband were living together. I absolutely dread to think of what it would have been like, and I just think so many other people will be feeling like that right now. So I think it's really good that we've touched on that subject, and I think we're going to put some links on.
Let's put the links for Al-Anon and NACOA and the domestic violence helpline that the government have issued at the moment. Let's put those links on the podcast today.
Yeah, definitely.
Useful. Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been a good one. We've been sad. We've laughed. It's like an episode in Afterlife.
God, we watched the whole of the second series actually, and it's such a fantastic program, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Today.
Do you know what? I relate to Ricky Gervais quite a lot actually, because he's quite miserable a lot of the time.
You remind me of him.
Oh, really? Yeah. But do you know what? He's got a real thing. Now, I have a thing called misophonia. Now, I don't know if you know what that means, but it's the inability to deal with certain noises. So if you're sitting next to me eating crisps, I'm literally pulling my hair out.
I'm with you.
I went to the cinema of M once, and she booked us in the middle of the cinema, and I said, "There's no way in a million years." I always go in the top right-hand corner, furthest away, because if someone's like, and it's quite a bit in the film, and they're scrunching their bloody. Well, anyway, and he's always mentioned that in the show, and I always smile because
when he said it to the yoga one.
Oh my God, that was so funny. Get sniffing, didn't he? It was so funny.
I'm not up to you two yet, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. But I'm like that with things. I'm really, really bad. And, I absolutely adore my children. But when we're all sat there having dinner together,
oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Slopping.
Oh, I can't even cope with it. Or if they want to watch a film and they're like, can we get snacks? And I'm like, empty everything out out into bowls.
She's like that. If I phone her up and I'm just chewing something that I don't even think I can hear it, she goes, I've got to go, I'll phone you later, you chew.
Yeah. So we've had sadness, laughter. Now you've realised you've got an ailment called misophonia, Lisa.
I never knew that it was called that.
Misophonia, and you follow them on Instagram, and you get your posts up, and you go, "Oh my God, that's me!" Like certain noises just drive me absolutely mad. But there's another one of like, because I've got a little doggy called Lola, the Chihuahua, right? Yeah. If she's crunching her little biscuits, I go, "Oh, my little baby." Yeah, if one of the kids is eating crisps, I'm literally got my hand around her throat. So I don't understand it.
She's managed to diagnose herself with 2 conditions now. So because on Simon's podcast, straight afterwards, she diagnosed herself with ADHD. So
yeah, I did. And now I've got misophonia.
Right, before we wrap up then, will you tell us about the work you do with Alcohol Change, Dave, and anything else that you want to add that we've not spoken about?
Well, originally, I love Alcohol Change because it's just a fantastic website with amazing people that work for them. I've met a few of them now. I met a couple at the Mindful Drinking Festival. I try and raise money for them, and I was doing a couple of bike rides this year that I was going to give the money to them because I just think they're fantastic. They work really, really hard. There's loads of things on their website that are supportive. And I think when we're talking about doing some live shows eventually, aren't we, on these Zoom things? And they kindly let us use their logo, and NACOA have as well, haven't they? Yeah. So I think we're both going to donate some money to them. And I just find, when you go online and if there's anyone that's struggling with booze and you Google it, problems with alcohol or am I drinking too much, when their website comes out, it's so easy and people friendly to use, it's just, and the people there are all so lovely. And I volunteered before lockdown to go to King's Cross Station and help them raise money with a bucket.
I saw that actually.
I've never witnessed anything like that. It was terrible. I think one person come up to me in 2 hours.
You're joking?
No, I was walking around and you're not, these days, you're not allowed to shake the bucket. You're not allowed to do certain things. I was walking around, roll up, sober day beer.
Did you have your pants
Maybe that's
on?
why they never... No, they're still, do you know what? I had an email from the company and I've got different colours, but they're stuck in the factory because of lockdown. So anyone wants to know, there's Sober Day pants on sale soon. It's a running theme with us three, isn't it?
It is. And Dave's going to wear them at our live show. So if you, when we do announce it and you want to come and watch the live,
yeah.
We've got to get people there somehow, haven't we?
Yeah, you can see Dave in his pants at our live concert these dates.
Various different colours.
Is there anything you want to share that we haven't asked about or that we haven't talked about?
Well, I think I'll share quite a lot.
You have, actually.
Basically, I think for the three of us, if people aren't really aware of our Zoom calls that we do well, they're not Zoom anymore, are they? They're on Facebook.
On Facebook
I think we hold a panel talk each week, don't we? 4 till 5:30 now, every Saturday. And we have a guest every week and we talk about different topics. We've spoken about cravings, triggers. Mental health was a great one. And I think all they got to do is go on our link trees, haven't they, and join our private Facebook group.
Yeah.
Is Lisa falling off her chair there? Alex,
I think she's fallen off the bed. She got all excited when you were talking about your sober pants.
Oh my God.
She did mention she might have a call, so she said, I'll disappear, so I bet that's what it is.
Well, she literally tipped sideways and vanished.
Annie, don't panic, I'm good.
Yeah. So, basically, I think we're all really excited about this, aren't we, these sober sessions that we do. And
it's had such good feedback, hasn't it?
Yeah. And that one we got the other day with a woman's in bed with her brekkie in Australia watching it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just amazing, isn't it, to think that and that it's reached all the way to Australia.
Yeah.
And New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we're doing good. And you know what? If we help just one of those people, which I know we are, because the feedback every single week, and we've got to make it really clear now that it's not only for sober, it's for anyone who's just, even if you just know somebody who's sober and you want to understand it, get on there because we hope to.
But it's that one we talked about with the Rock Sober boys, Lee and Sean. It was about mental health.
Yeah.
And Lee's got OCD, isn't he? And so it's not just all about drinking; it's about life experiences, and we cover it in so many different ways, don't we? Because we come from different angles. There's me with no teeth, and there's you that, my dog's
it's
running off.
It's me with no education, Dave.
Yeah, Alex is pretending not to be drinking, but she's just falling off the bed.
This only William knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he only knows what he's doing at the time. He don't know what he's doing beforehand. You want to see how many links I send him in a day before he catches up?
Yeah, bless him. But I think anyone, you can put that link on afterwards as well, can't you? Of the the link to the Facebook group.
And we've done 2 plugs for it now because actually in the introduction we've talked a bit about it as well. So you've got a reminder at the end of the podcast as well if you're listening. So
brilliant.
If you got this far.
It's been lovely speaking to you. I know we speak every day, but it's been really nice to kind of get some of your backstory because it's got to that point where, when you meet somebody and they tell you the name and then you forget it and then you listen too many times to ask them what the name is. Well, that's like if we were to go to you. So come on then, Dave, tell us about your sober journey. We've known you quite well, so it's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you so
really
much,
enjoyed
Dave.
Do you know, I woke up this morning and I felt so excited we were doing this. I think you're both, I mean it, I think you two are absolutely amazing. I really do. And you're going to help so many people.
But we feel exactly the same about you. We absolutely love you, both of us.
Oh, thank you.
We think you're amazing. Big group hug.
No, he's got a cough.
Oh yeah, masks on and a big group hug. Thanks, honestly, genuinely, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Oh, we'll speak to you soon.
See you, girls. See you. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.